Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast brought to you by the Draft Professor. This is Randall Slifer getting a Arkansas Razorbacks tickets tonight. So we're podcasting a few hours early. So who does Arkansas play tonight?
Central Arkansas. So it should be a pretty easy game. I don't even know what the spread is or anything, but it should be fun because home environment. I think we're still 14th ranked. So Arkansas basketball is polar opposite of what Arkansas football is. So this year's exciting.
Cool. Yeah. So Randall's basically doing his Tuesday night podcast a few hours early. We will still have the Tuesday night podcast. But like Randall, I'm not going to miss you doing wide receivers.
I know. And we got over the half hump, right? Like this is the week where I was like, this is like, we're getting the nitty gritty stuff. So then of course this pops up, which I love that I'd be able to go to the game, but I was so excited to talk about these guys.
Yeah. So we have about 25 wide receivers left to cover. So after this list of 8, we're down to 17 players that we haven't done a deep dive on. We're going to go over 2 of the TCU wide receivers, Eric McAllister, Jordan Dwyer, followed by Joshua Cameron, Nick Anderson, Deion Burks, Jeremy Bernard, CJ Daniels, Zachariah Branch. And I know from the Draft Professor group chat, I'm really looking forward to hearing about CJ Daniels. But let's dive right in. So Eric McAllister, what do you think of his NFL possibilities?
All right, yeah. So Eric McAllister, 6'3", 205. So awesome build. He's a senior, 3-star prospect into a 3-star transfer. He did Boise State for the first 2 years, TCU for the final 2 years. Has some high school track background, which you can kind of see in his vertical route running. He has 2 years of really, really good production, and you kind of love to see that. In 2024, he had 39 catches for 762 yards, 5 touchdowns. This year, Eric McAllister has 47 catches, 817 yards, 8 touchdowns. So he already increased his touchdowns, which is great, already increased his yards. So that's something that NFL teams are going to look at very, very quickly. He's used as an outside X about 80% of the time. He's got great yards per route run at 2.89, 2.56. Drops are pretty good, right about 10% drop rate. But what I love about the 6'3", 205 build is that he brings the height, but then it doesn't slow him down for him. He's got really quick feet, and his initial speed is really, really good. Can win off press man just off his speed and his twitchiness with his quick feet, which is great. He's a vertical deep threat. He's got his long stride and can separate from the second to the third level. So his long speed is a little bit questionable, but he can kind of burn people in the first 15 yards. So when it comes down to it, if Eric's got that 2 to 3 yards of separation in 15 yards deep, he can carry that and keep that separation to get those vertical routes. So that's really solid. His catch and run is really fluid. At that 6'3", 205 build, they do give him the opportunity for wide receiver screens. So that's another facet to his game that he adds to as an outside X. That's very cool. He's got really big stats in games. 8 catches, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns against SMU. Just an absolute silly game. Kansas State, he had 4 catches, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So 2 of his catches were touchdowns. The other 2, you're averaging 40 yards a catch on that game. That's absolutely bonkers. 11 catches, 177 yards versus Iowa State, 115 yards, 1 touchdown against West Virginia. My knocks on him, his route tree is limited. He doesn't really have much. His in breakers are okay. He shows a little bit stiffness in his route running. At the stem of the route, he can overrun it a little bit, and then he catches contact with a cornerback, which then that cornerback can run his route for him. I am intrigued to see where Eric McAllister, where the NFL sees him, because he does have that 6'3", 205 build, and it's super interesting. He's got the stats that back it up, but when I say he has those big stats in those games, those account for a lot of his season stats, and of the other games are very, very low. So I find that concerning. And his route running is decent, but it's uninspiring. To be honest, when I was watching him, and it's a little bit lighter, kind of reminds me of Gabe Davis, right? Like Gabe Davis is inconsistent overall as a career platform, but he does get you those 200-yard games, and it's like super beneficial. So I'm sure that NFL teams will love to see that for a product of Eric McAllister. So I do have him as a midday 3, like a early to mid 5th rounder that somebody will take a flyer on and kind of eat him up with hoping to get those results.
What do you think his 40 is going to be?
Man, I think it's going to be like 4.55 is my guess, and that's where that is. I think he's a little slower because of his third level. His first and second are good, but his last kind of last 20, 15, 10 yards in there might be a little bit slower. He could run a 4.50, like a 4.48, 4.50 would probably put him in early day 3, but I think he's a little slower than what I kind of see him as on tape.
Okay. So you like Brennan Thompson of Mississippi State more than Eric McAllister right now?
I do. Because Brennan Thompson is my kind of route runner. I love his route running. His route running would scare me as a DB because he's so nuanced in his route running that it's very unpredictable the way he runs routes, and his speed is insane. So I like, and Brennan, I obviously know that Brennan Thompson I think is 5'8", 170, but leaning into the shorter, thinner wide receivers that the NFL is taking on, I think there's a spot for Brennan Thompson in the NFL. And again, his route running is so clean. Love it.
Yep. Okay. One other TCU wide receiver, Jordan Dwyer, 6 feet, 190. What do you think his draft prognosis is?
His draft prognosis is a little different. He's 6 foot 190, so he can do it all kind of type of receiver. 3-star prospect, 4-star transfer. Idaho, before he transferred to TCU, he had over 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns at Idaho. Super impressive year. First year at TCU. He is a redshirt junior, so he has one more year of eligibility. This year, he's at 47 catches, 610 yards, 4 touchdowns. Really great stats. He's used out wide, even though 6 foot 190, but they use him in motion. They use him in motions to drags, motions to flats, and stuff like that, which work out really well. Same thing with Eric McAllister. His best speed is the explosion off the line of scrimmage in the second level. He can do the same as Eric McAllister. He can win on vertical routes within the first 15 yards because he's already 3 or 4 steps ahead of the guy, and that's super impressive. My guess for Jordan Dwyer is a little bit quicker than Eric McAllister. I think he might be a 4.44 guy, 4.45 guy. So he has a little bit more speed to him. Natural hands catcher. He only had 7 drops in the last 2 years, which he gets a lot of targets. So that's under 5% drop rate, which is really good. Always stays engaged in the play, and he's a very physical wide receiver as well with his speed. He is a good blocker at 6 foot 190. He wants to block, and he wants to put DBs on the ground, which is always great. His route running is okay, and this is where the question comes into his NFL if he were declared this year. His hitches and comebacks have little cells. He's very animated in his route running. He shows it with his arms and his hands. So his hitches kind of show a tell, and I've seen DBs notice it. But on out routes, it's very lethal. He can plant his foot in the ground, hit that sideline, and go. His double moves are very good, and he's been super reliable for Hoover this year. There's been games where he's gotten 15 targets because him and Hoover are connected, and that's something that I really like to see. If you get that connection and you stick with it, and you get 15 targets and you catch 10 of them, I think that's great because then you can see that there's a consistency in that. So with Jordan Dwyer, he has the capabilities of being a really good NFL wide receiver, but he really needs to fine tune his route running a lot. He has the traits in his route running that can be really good. It's just there's a lot of work he needs to put into it. So for me, if he could be a redshirt senior either at TCU or if he wants to transfer out, I think TCU might be a good spot depending on who the quarterback is next year. But give a little bit, take a little bit of nil money. Learn your route running a little bit better, and I think he could be a top 125 in 2027. But if he were to declare, he's around 6 for me.
Okay. And my understanding is that Josh Hoover is likely a return to school.
Right. So that's almost intriguing. And then Eric McAllister is a senior, so he's declaring. So then he would probably take that wide receiver 1 spot and then build off that.
Yep. Yep. So I also want to give a shout out. So Sam Teets in the Draft Professor chat was talking about Jordan Dwyer all summer. So
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to Sam. I love hearing about the return to school for Jordan Dwyer. Next player up, Josh Cameron from Baylor, 6'1", 224. And if you're trying to figure out who he is on the field, he's the wide receiver that wears number 34.
Yes.
But what else do you want to tell everybody about Joshua Cameron?
I will say I think it's in this picture, but he wears like a band around his calf, so it's super noticeable in all 22. So for like wide receivers, we appreciate that from scouting. But Josh Cameron, 6'1", 224. He's a redshirt senior, 0-star prospect, and has stayed with Baylor this whole entire time. So that's something that I personally don't see often, and I kind of love that because he's worked his way up into who he is and what he's done. Because in 2024, he had 52 catches, 750 yards, 10 touchdowns. Incredible year. 1.97 yards per route run, only had 2 drops. This year, he's adding to it. Similar in yards. He's got 47 catches, 581 yards, 5 touchdowns. Probably won't get up to the 10, but still. 1.57 yards per route run. 5 yards after the catch per reception this year, so he's added that to his game, and he only has 1 drop this year. So even though he's dropped in touchdowns, I think he's more efficient and he's done better at being a wide receiver in 2025, which you kind of love to see. Deceptively sneaky athlete for 6'1", 224. I did not expect that out of him, especially because he's a shorter frame at 6'1", 224. So he's got that stockier build, but he holds it really, really well. He's got really good releases at the line of scrimmage. He can do it in multiple ways at 224. He can slap arms down if he needs to be physical at the line of scrimmage, or he can elusively get on the outside or the inside to beat him. Can do it all sort of thing. For 224, his deceleration is super impressive. Once he can beat that press man and he's got somebody running in a trail technique, he could stop on a dime and then make the DB go outside the numbers sort of thing. Super impressive at that. To add to his elusiveness and physicality, Josh Cameron has good physicality to it. In the first 5, he can handle contact and then also separate on the inside or the outside, even if the DB's trying to hold on to him. He's had a good amount of holding calls on him that I've seen, and a lot of DPIs as well, because he's got that stocky build, and DBs are trying to catch up in the physicality and the speed combined. So I really love to see that. Really strong with the catch. He's good at locating the ball in contested catch situations. Natural hands catcher with strong hands at it. Really, like with that physicality, when I'm talking about within the first 5 yards, he does a really good job. And then if he's doing like an out route, he had a touchdown where he kind of went physical on the DB and then just moved away outside. And all he had to do is kind of like Mike Evans does, is just leverage yourself to be like, I'm bigger and stronger than you, and then just throw it outside my numbers, and then I'll catch it sort of thing. Very impressive facet to his game that definitely translates to the NFL, and I really like to see that. Another good thing, really good at improv, especially with his quick feet. I really love what he does in scrambling drills, especially for the NFL. If the quarterback is scrambling, he knows to kind of go a little bit laterally and then move upfield. Does a really good job at that. My questionable thing is he is 6'1", 224, so he's got a different build. Long speed is questionable for sure. He's got short speed, but not long speed. And his stem work is a little bit average. With that physicality, sometimes it lets him take control of it, and then he overruns his stem, which then kind of screws up the timing, or he does it himself, and then he catches contact with the DB, and then the DB dictates his route, so that's kind of an issue. I have a round 4 grade on him. I think if he fine-tuned a little bit of his route running could be better, but going up against NFL corners on a week-to-week basis, I think he might run into a little bit more trouble. So I think that he's a good balanced wide receiver that probably should go in maybe the top 25, maybe at the end of round 4.
Okay. Next player, Nick Anderson from LSU, 6'4", 208. I believe he transferred from Oklahoma to LSU. There was a lot of hype about Nick Anderson during summer scouting.
Yeah.
Has he lived up to the hype?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that he's got some nicked up on injuries, and that is the issue. So Nick Anderson, yes, 6'4", 208. He's a redshirt junior right now, which is good. He was a three-star prospect turned into a four-star transfer. Did Oklahoma for 3 years, 1 year now at LSU. He's got two brothers with NFL background. His brother's Rodney Anderson, the running back. So 2023 was his freshman year. He broke out crazy. 38 catches, 798 yards, 10 touchdowns. 2024 at Oklahoma, he played one game due to a quad injury. So he only played one game at Oklahoma. And then 2025, he's only got 12 catches for 106 yards, two touchdowns. But he unfortunately suffered a knee injury. That's not as bad as a season ending, even though it's like right at the end of the season. But it happened last week, so he added another injury to his facet. But looking at that 2023 tape for Nick Anderson is super impressive. And it's good that the knee injury wasn't overly serious because I don't think he'll lose his speed anyways. But the reason for the summer scouting was his freshman breakout. And Nick Anderson had a crazy year. I watched the UCF TCU tape of 2023. He had really good releases at the line of scrimmage, beat press man in multiple ways, just like the previous wide receiver we talked about. Route running is really well for as a freshman. He had really good explosion at the stem to separate and has nuance to his route running. Had a really nasty move, again, a double move against TCU that showed an out route with his body, head fake and turned it into a wide open go route. That's kind of like where his trick is, and it's very impressive the way he does it. You can use him in all facets of the game. You can line him up in line to block. You can line him up in the slot, and you can line him up as outside X. He has quick enough speed where Oklahoma used him and LSU used him in wide receiver screens, which is great for 6'4", 208. He's also used in motion as well. His catch and run is really good. And when you looked at 2025 tape, honestly, for Nick Anderson, it didn't really drop off that much. The only issue is that there's not a lot of tape in between 2024 and 2025 to kind of maybe analyze if you're betting on his freshman year. In 2025, his routes still look good. He had a third gear that's super impressive, gains an extra step in the past 20 yards to gain advantage in the contested catch situations. Initial speed and agility, probably my biggest knock for him is his agility. His lateral movement is a little stiff and slow, so slants are not that great. Quick flats are okay when it comes down to it. On intermediate routes, I see DBs attaching him to him relatively easy. So his intermediate routes are kind of where he kind of falls off on. LSU just didn't use him a lot, and I know that Garrett Nussmeier has been obviously I wouldn't call it a disappointment, but below average from our expectations, unfortunately, with probably his arm injury affecting him a lot. But, Nuss threw a lot of one-on-one goes this year, and he was not targeted. And I do believe that Nick Anderson should have been targeted. There was a lot of opportunities for Nuss to throw it to Nick Anderson, and he just did not. Maybe because Nuss had a better relationship with the other wide receivers, but I digress in there. He is a redshirt junior, so I'm not sure where his injury is. Like, if he even were to declare, is he going to be ready for the combine, for the Senior Bowl, and things like that? I think he will from what I read. But with that being said, if he has an extra year, I would look because I think it'd be pretty easy for him if he can get a full season to have the production to show who he is. So either transfer, well, probably transfer because we don't know what LSU is, right? So transfer out, find a different school, and go from there. If he were to declare, it would probably – you'd be betting on traits to take him high in the top 125, but I would put him in the 5th round betting on him, taking a flyer.
Got it. Okay. Deion Burks from Oklahoma. So Deion Burks stayed at Oklahoma. He was a teammate of Nick Anderson, I believe in 2024. But last year, Oklahoma's wide receiver room was decimated with injuries.
Yeah.
Has Deion Burks moved himself into a draftable category now?
He has for me, for sure. Deion Burks, redshirt senior now, so he is declaring. 5'9", 188. 5'9's a little short, but you have that 190 build, which is really good for him. I think that kind of cancels each other out, especially in today's NFL. 3-star prospect turned into a 4-star transfer. Started in Purdue, so of course you transfer out and you're a stellar player at Purdue, and they can't keep you. So you go somewhere and show your talent. He's got a track background in sprinting. Love that. He has decent production in 2024 at 31 catches in his first year at Oklahoma, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. This year, he's at 43 catches, 432 yards, 2 touchdowns. So really good progression. He can be used widely enough. He's used a lot out wide. He's used about 75% out wide for 5'9", 188. But really, it comes down to what his speed is. He is a super fast kid, small frame that plays outside. He's super fast and twitchy. Reports I saw was about 4.40 speed, which is really, really good. He can use that on the outside to beat press. He uses basically just his speed and his twitchiness to go lateral and go upfield to beat press man, and it works on a consistent basis. Sometimes I feel like with smaller stature guys, speed and physicality rules over speed at press man, but Deion Burks does it countless times to where he just does it, and you kind of have to trust him that he does it, especially with Oklahoma allowing him to do 75% of his snaps out wide. That kind of shows that the coaching staff trusts him in that department. Love his route running. Just how we talked about like Brennan Thompson, Deion Burks has a little bit of that in his route running. That short, thin, twitchy route running, can stop on a dime. And he's really, really high IQ in zone, and he knows what to do there. I love his zone IQ when it comes to his route running. He can turn posts into quick hitches. So if he's showing a post and the safety comes to the middle, stop on a dime in that second level zone beater, and he just stops right there, and the quarterback's ready to throw to him. Super, super impressive. The knocks for him, the 5'9" height is brutal. So basically, on go routes, you're going to have to separate to win. Contested catches are not the best option for him in that department, but he does have surefire hands. He only has 2 drops. So like a back shoulder throw or late hands on a go route do work. But if the DB is aware of his go route and he turns his head, you're really not winning that ball. I see somebody like Deion Burks, basically like the Miami Dolphins, looking at him and just ready to draft him immediately, especially the way he sits on slants, and his zone IQ is perfect for the timing of Mike McDaniel's offense, and he would fit really well in that system. That 190 build is kind of perfect for him as well. So I see him, the way I see him as an NFL receiver is how good he is in his speed and timing. So right now, unfortunately with the 5'9", I'm curious how NFL teams see that. I see him as a mid to late round 4 guy.
Okay. Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, 6'1", 204. I know Owen would really like to see Bernard on Buffalo, but what was your scouting report on Jeremy Bernard?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, and that's a good call. Jeremy Bernard is one of like my favorite styles of wide receivers, kind of that Z type that you can really plug anywhere you want. 6'4", 204 build, one of the best builds, in my personal opinion, for a wide receiver. He's a senior, 4-star prospect turned into a 4-star transfer. 1 year at Michigan State, 1 year at Washington, 2 years at Alabama. In 2024, he had great production. In his first year at Alabama, 50 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. In 2025, 41 catches, 605 yards, 6 touchdowns. Increase that touchdown production with probably matching his other stat lines, which I have no problem with. I love with when we talk about his versatility, first year at Alabama, he was legitimately a 50% slot receiver, 50% out wide receiver, and they used him in the wing tee, and they used him in some rushing. This year, they switched it to 2/3 out wide, 1/3 in the slot, because he can win so well in his separation route running, which I love to see. His yards per route run dropped, but I see him as a more efficient and more NFL-ready wide receiver in 2025 than 2024. But as I mentioned, his alignment is amazing. The wing T formation for Jeremy Bernard is great to be in the backfield. You can basically use him as a chameleon on a week-to-week basis, and he's willing to do that. So on a 1 week, if the DBs are excellent and you want to go to a short passing game, Jeremy Bernard's there for you. If you want to go for a deep passing game, Jeremy Bernard you can plan Jeremy Bernard for that as well. So anything that you want to deviate and plan for, Jeremy Bernard can do it, to be honest with you. He has a full route tree to his game. He's a natural separator. His out routes are super lethal, and it's super quick with it. DBs have to honor the go route on Jeremy Bernard, and he's so quick to flip his hips and go out that he can win on it almost every time. It's almost indefensible unless you're playing a zone and you want to pop it real quick and the quarterback shows it. But I don't think Jeremy Bernard shows his out routes. Finds zone spots and very well. He's a high IQ guy. He's got surefire hands. He's got surefire hands with the natural head. He can take a hit while holding onto the ball. He's only had 3 drops in the last 2 years. This year, 1 drop was versus Vanderbilt, and I was surprised. I was even surprised that he dropped it. It was a quick post right to his numbers, and he dropped it. Probably just an honest mistake. So that it wasn't anything like a concentration drop or anything. He's a workhorse at wide receiver. He's a really good blocker. Runs full routes when he's not the first or second read to pull defenders. Will go upfield to the second or third level, and in scrambling drills for quarterbacks, he'll begin blocking the second he hits the line of scrimmage. Super impressed with what he does there. My knocks on him, speed can be questionable at 6'4", 204 pounds. Hopefully, just like how we talked about with Eric McAllister, hopefully he runs like a 4.50. He could run a 4.55, but regardless, when it comes to his long speed, I see DB still honoring that go route for how he runs his routes and how he doesn't show his hand in his route. So when it comes down to it, go routes can be rough, but DB still honor it. His contested catch rate this year is only 20%. So it's rough when you're trying to high point the ball and ball locating on the sideline. So that's a decent knock for him. But I really do like everything about Jeremy Bernard. I think he's got NFL qualities attached to him already. So he'll be an NFL style wide receiver. So for Bernard, I have him at the end of round 2, the start of round 3.
Okay. So first day 2 grade of the day, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama.
First day 2 grade.
Now, I know from the Draft Professor chat, CJ Daniels did not make it into day 2. At least if I understood the chat right. But I remember CJ Daniels making a great catch. I believe it was against Notre Dame the first weekend of the year.
Yeah.
And he's an LSU transfer to Miami, but obviously with the way LSU turned out, that transfer was probably a really good move.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Good move on CJ Daniels, especially because he's a redshirt senior. So, I mean, that's perfect. To be honest, the way his pass is probably what doesn't put him in day 2, which is a little rough, but he's a day 2 talent without a doubt. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody felt enamored with him and took him day 2. But he was a 2-star prospect that went to Liberty, transferred out of Liberty after 4 years. He redshirted the first year and turned into a 4-star transfer to LSU, 4-star transfer to Miami. His 2023 tape in Liberty, he had 55 catches for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. He was lethal in Liberty. I watched a couple games in that 2023. His Old Dominion game, I posted, Jim, you saw. He showed NFL qualities on all facets. His route running was lethal. His contested catch, he had a one-handed touchdown. He had a out route for a second touchdown that was a basket catch. Like, he basically did everything to show that he's an NFL receiver in one game, and it was impressive to watch. But, move on from Liberty because obviously the competition, we're talking about going up against Old Dominion, right? So for CJ Daniels, when he went to LSU, still had decent yards. He had 42 catches for 480 yards. And then step into Miami. He has probably going to pace for his same amount of yards and catches. Right now he has 33 catches, 351 yards, but he has 6 touchdowns. In LSU, he had 0. So the 6 touchdowns is awesome, especially because you only have 33 catches. So you're talking about like an 18% rate of catching a ball that's a touchdown, which is incredible. Super twitchy in his route running and quick to get his spots. I think he really focuses on his timing, which is so important in the NFL, getting to your mark at the right spot, counting your steps, knowing where to be at the right time. Super good explosion at the line of scrimmage, great initial speed. Deceleration is incredible on hitches and comebacks. I think going back to where he was and with injury related, he had torn ACL in Liberty. It nagged him a little bit in LSU and caused him to miss 3 games, and it nagged him a little bit in Miami. So it's a little bit of a reoccurring injury that's happening, but I don't see much of the speed lost when I was watching his games in Miami. Reported is that he could run a 4.45. And I think when I'm watching Miami, it was recent that he got the knee injury. But before that, even though he had it nagging in LSU, I still saw that 4.45 speed. So it's impressive to see. He also has a good route tree and can use most of it. Miami necessarily doesn't let him operate in the full tree, but he showed it in Liberty. And I don't think he's lost that at all, especially with the nuance in his route running. Lines up in line, which is surprising, 6'2", 205. Lines up in line a lot in Miami and is a super active and physical blocker. So that's a great facet to his game as well, and really likes to block. My knocks for him is catching in traffic can be inconsistent. I see him once in a while on posts, get that ball, and then maybe look the other way and lose control of the ball. A little concerning there. He does have a 75% contested catch rate this year, which is really good. And he does know how to back shoulder throw, is really impressive and things along those lines. But sometimes he kind of lets his eye go away from the ball when he's about to get hit. I really like CJ Daniels as a total. I think he's a super balanced wide receiver. So his floor starts very high. And then as long as he's like, his medicals come back, that everything's good to go. Again, I wouldn't be surprised that he falls into that day two if a team becomes enamored with him, because he's so balanced. He can do so many things well that is NFL quality that I really like. So even though, that nagging injury, I still have an early fourth on him. And I think that might be, I'd probably say that a late fourth might be his floor because I like him that much. And then I wouldn't be surprised if I'm putting him around his floor with the ability to go higher.
Okay. And then the last player of the show, and I remember, I believe it was Anthony Russo doing one of the first summer scouting shows. He introduced me to Zachariah Branch. I went and did some research, and I said, he needs to be a Buffalo Bill in round 2.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, because at the time, right, over the summer, I'm like, well, we need a punt returner. I want to get rid of Codrington. And this Zachariah Branch has speed for days. I have watched a couple of Georgia games. Zachariah Branch hasn't done anything to dissuade me.
Yeah.
Do you like Zachariah Branch as much as I do?
I do. Zachariah Branch, to be honest, if we want our own Tyreek Hill, this is kind of the guy that we would be looking at in this draft for sure. 5'10", I know that Tyreek Hill has a little bit of a bigger build, but at 5'10", 180, he's just a junior, was a 5-star prospect, went to USC now, is at Georgia for his first year. He was the number 1 rated wide receiver out of his high school class. He heavy track and field background. He ran a 10.33 in 100 meter, and he also competes in the long jump and the triple jump. And that's kind of like that's that Tyreek Hill, right? Because the long jump and the triple jump make your explosion top tier, and then you show it in your 100 meter that you have the long speed as well, running at 10.33, which is nuts. First, last year out of USC, he had 503 yards, 1 touchdown. This year, he's already maxed it at 53 catches at Georgia, at 53 catches, 542 yards with 3 touchdowns. So he's beaten all of his stats that he had last year. 2.63 yards per route run, fantastic, with 8.2 yards after the catch per reception, which is crazy. Jim, as you know, he catches that ball and he can get through crevices that you don't even know that's there. Super impressive, and he's always trying to go vertical with taking 1 lateral step and moving vertical instead of taking 4 lateral steps and then going vertical, which you always love to see. Good games against big competition. Tennessee had 5 catches, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Auburn, 9 catches, 57 yards. Florida, he had 10 catches, 112 yards. That was a super fun game to watch. Mississippi State, 8 catches, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. He's just an advanced slot receiver / gadget with just crazy speed. Zachariah Branch is super sneaky in his route running, and he does that. What makes me remind me of Tyreek Hill is that super sneaky second level zone beaters. Like what Tyreek Hill does is, he just sprints to the spot, catches and goes. And then the linebackers don't even see him. He's already to the 50 going off sort of thing. So that's super Tyreek Hill-esque. And it was just salivating watching it. His deceleration is really good because he's got that 180 build, so he can stop on a dime as well. He uses it in motions to sell go routes, turning into hitches, borderline unguardable. Really, when it comes down to it, it's borderline unguardable for sure. His route running is solid in general. I talk about his zone IQ. One example, when in Ole Miss, he ran a whip route, noticed Stockton was rolling to his right and was covered, turned it into a wheel route, but then turned that wheel route into a hitch. And that was just improv that he did by himself and got open for Gunnar Stockton when he was in danger. And then he threw it. Very impressive stuff. His in and out breakers, just as I talked about, are super lethal separators, just natural separators that DBs can't handle. My only knock for him is 5'10", 180, I guess. Like, is that going to transfer well? I personally believe it will. I don't think he's going to have an issue with it overall, but the 180 is always kind of concerning to see where it goes. I don't think Georgia overall used him exactly to his ceiling. So if the NFL kind of sees him as a later, like a end of day 3 guy, I get it, just because
You
Georgia
mean
kind
end
of
of round 3?
End of round 3, yes. Is that what I said, or end of day 3? Did
You
I say
said end of day 3.
No, end of round 3. My bad. That's probably why, because like Georgia didn't use him a lot in the red zone, which was, even though he has 6 touchdowns, which is nuts. There were a lot of sets when they were at the 10-yard line that they kind of used bigger bodied wide receivers in those sets instead of Zachariah Branch. I was very surprised the way Georgia did that. But because overall, like even though he's 5'10", 180, that lower center of gravity and the way to get through crevices is good for the red zone. And it was weird that I didn't see him. But yeah, I really do like Zachariah Branch. I have him at the end of round 2, early round 3 as well.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to add that really needs to be emphasized, he can return kicks.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
Right? So if your team needs a kick returner, like coming out of the summer, like when Anthony Russo and I were talking about it, his floor is a kick returner.
Right.
So you could, so in the summer, I think Anthony Russo was saying he's top 100 now. He said, but worst case is you're drafting a kick returner in round 4.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right?
For sure. Yeah.
But Branch has had a really good year, and he's exceeded the summer scouting prognosis, or the summer scouting analysis that was done in like May and June.
For sure, which is great to see. And I'm not a huge Gunnar Stockton guy, to be honest, when it comes to a quarterback. So what he's doing and the fastest that he uses it, and the ability, like, to be honest, like that the Ole Miss game, how I talked about that improv, is kind of because Gunnar Stockton triple pumped on a throw and just then got himself caught into some mess. And the way that he was able to rebound and the way he's able to work with Gunnar Stockton, I think is a plus in that direction, to be honest.
Yeah. So that is the last wide receiver that we're covering today. So we will be covering the same wide receivers at the normal 7 p.m. Eastern time slot. As we said before, Randall has a basketball game, and Randall's draft professor marriage counselor said you can't skip out if the wife invites you to a basketball game.
Yeah, exactly.
And if your wife hears this, I really didn't make the decision for him. Randall made the decision.
Yeah. Actually, I appreciate you saying that out loud.
Yeah.
That is good evidence to have.
Yeah. Okay, so next week we have 10 wide receivers. I think we're going to end up removing a couple of them from the podcast because I don't think they've played as much. But Aaron Anderson from LSU, Chase Brown from Kansas State, Chris Brazel from Tennessee, Malachi Fields from Notre Dame, Elijah Surratt from Indiana, Eric Singleton from Auburn, Bryce Lance from North Dakota State, Copper Barkate from Duke. I think that's Cooper, and I misspelled it, but I'll have to verify the spelling. And then the last one is Omarion Miller from Colorado.
Ooh, we're getting into early seconds.
Yes. So it's shaping up to be a really good year. If your team wants 2 wide receivers, this draft has 2 wide receivers of many shapes and sizes.
Beautiful.
So for Randall, for myself, and everybody at Draft Professor, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on a podcast again at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.